Welcome to the Rabbitohs Top 4 podcast, proudly presented by What If, official travel and pathways partner of the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Here are your hosts, Mark Ellison, Shannon Donato, and Jeremy Monahan.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rabbitohs Top 4 podcast, powered by Audio Technica and proudly presented by What If. What If has you covered for accommodation, flights, car hire and more. So if you're looking for a holiday, travelling for business, or you need to get to the game, visit whatif.com/Rabbitohs. What If? It's Aussie for travel. My name's Jeremy Monahan. I'd like to welcome my usual co-hosts, Mark Ellison and Shannon Donato. Hello, how are you this morning?
I'm well, Jez. We've got Stephen on here today. Great to have him here. I think we'll need a bigger table next time we come in. We get four of us sitting around the same one. We can always get rid of Shannon, though. It's on.
It is on. It started early.
I turn up with a smile, try to be optimistic, and just chop me down before I get to say anything.
But he's already filthy that you offered him a bacon egg roll and didn't bring one in.
Well, I did buy him one. I just haven't eaten myself.
I was going to say, how were the six of them this morning?
Very good, thank you. Very good, thank you.
We are not long into this, and the jokes have already, the fat jokes have already started, the food jokes. But as you mentioned there, Ello, we have a very special guest, and I've got some music to introduce him here. He is the former Rabbitohs first grade player. He is a former sports journalist and sports editor, a current editor of techguide.com.au, the host of the Tech Guide podcast and Two Blokes Talking Tech podcast. He's a regular on TV and radio. He's an astrophotographer and a Star Wars fanatic. Please welcome the great Steve Fenech.
Woo! Oh, that's awesome.
And nerd. You forgot nerd. Yeah. Star Wars nerd.
Total Star Wars nerd. That's a great intro. Actually reminds me of when the opposition team runs out at the home games. I love how you play the Imperial March. Did you know that's a Star Wars song?
Absolutely.
When the opposition team runs out, that's the Imperial March. Yeah, it's for...
there is no greater
from
villain
Star Wars.
than Darth Vader. Yeah. So we've got to play it for the villains as they run out onto the field.
I don't normally hear
it's a nice touch, that. Great to be here, guys. Thanks for the invitation.
Very good. Obviously, a man that knows his way around a podcast as well.
Yeah, I've done the odd podcast. I'm hitting about... I'm coming up to the 1,000 mark, I think. I think I've done more than 1,000 episodes. So I'm up to 446 on Tech Guide, and Two Blokes, I think we're up to 482 this week. So
that's a lot of talking, and that's unusual for a Fennick.
Exactly. Mate, I thought I could talk a lot, and if I can get paid to do it, why not? And that's exactly what I've done. So, yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, we might just first of all get into our first discussion topic. As usual, something that you've learned this week. We'll kick off with you, Ella.
I've just learnt, Jazz, that we're up to around 6 and finished on the weekend, and we're a quarter of a way through the season. It's gone so quick.
It has.
The mornings and nights are getting colder, and the competition's about to heat up, Jez.
And he doesn't write it down. I love it.
Well, see, I don't get the introduction music, so I'm going to try.
Next week, I'll get the Benny Hill music for you.
He's the king of the pun.
Steve, what's something you've learned this week?
I'm a big movie fan, as you might know, and I was watching. I was rewatching Bohemian Rhapsody. Have you seen that movie about the Queen? You know, the bloke who plays John Deacon, the bass guitarist, is the little kid from Jurassic Park.
Really?
Remember the little kid that was in Jurassic Park with his sister? That's the
amazing.
Guy who plays John Deacon in the Queen in the Bohemian Rhapsody. I was amazed at that, so I thought I'd share.
Is this going to be an hour and a half nerd fest or what?
Not at all, mate.
I should have got my glasses.
I thought we were here to talk about football.
If we're lucky, it'll be an hour and a half nerd fest.
Are we sponsored by No Doze or something?
Only when you're talking.
Boom,
2-0.
Anyway, Shannon, have you learned anything this week?
Yes, I've learned that you guys are very cruel to me. Nasty. Nasty is the word. No, I've learned, everybody's known for a long time that it's defence that wins premierships and even minor premierships. And I've learned just how good our defence is. We've conceded one try in the last 4 halves of football, and it's... and it's not through lack of possession for the other sides. They've had plenty of chances on our lines, and our defence is really strong. So I've learned that not only is our attack potent, but our defence is strong, as I like to call it, the Redfern Wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
I think, defence wins games. Our defence has been really good the last few weeks, and it reminds me of how I don't want to put the mock on us, but 2014 had the same sort of feel. Our defence had that rock solid feel. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
Steve, can I just ask you one question? You're a great hooker yourself. Your brother was a good hooker. Come from a very strong hooking family, and you talk about our history back in 2014. I just want to ask you, you've seen a lot of great players and, South. Just tell me the best hooker you've ever seen at the Rabbitohs, and tell me who you think the best hooker was and why was I?
Well, my brother was hooker as well, mate. Mario will be dirty if I don't mention him up front.
I'm surprised with that answer, to be fair.
Yeah, there you go. Mario, I played also with Jim Sedaris. Jim Sedaris was a great hooker as well. But Mario, of course, he's 7 years older than me. So when I was still in high school when he was playing first grade and was really looked up to him. He was sort of a hero of mine, Like it wasn't just a couple of years older than me. He was a fair bit older than me. So it was. I admired him, mate, and when I got the chance to play at the club, just to train alongside him was a pleasure. But then when I actually got to play with him and against him, that was fantastic as well.
Excellent. Yeah, well, Mario's certainly right up there with myself and Cookie, so good answer.
The best South hooker I've seen, especially in the tunnel at the SFS, is Sean Garley.
Yeah.
Sean Garley absolutely beat the tripe out of some bloke from Cronulla one day. It was fantastic.
Mate,
in the
you
tunnel.
know what? I taught Short a lesson. I broke every bone in his hand by headbutting his fist. And he'll never mess with me again, Sean Garley. Don't you worry about that.
Although you've messed with a few of his pies.
Yes, I certainly have.
3-0.
I've often said, Sean sponsors the Rabbitohs, and we've got Garlo's branding on the reserve seats and whatever. He's, I reckon I've put his kids through high school. His kids should run around with a shirt saying Shannon Donato.
Very nice. Something I've learnt this week, and being a commercial man, Shannon, I'm sure you're not in love with Thursday night football.
No.
But how good is winning a Thursday night footy game?
Yes.
Because Friday, Saturday, Sunday into
Sets
the
up
next
your
week.
weekend, doesn't it?
It does. It's just it's nice, smooth sailing into the weekend.
You and
Do the
Steve would
players
have had
get
a
the weekend off? Do you get so Thursday night we have a win? What's the weekend look like then?
Well, it depends what the turnaround is. But this weekend the boys caught up for a game of virtual golf on Friday when they came back, which they all got together, and it was their idea to do it. And then they had the weekend off, came in and train.
Happy days.
Got a long turnaround, so we'll train Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week.
Yep.
Into the Tigers on Saturday. Yeah.
Nice.
Jez, how did you celebrate that longer weekend after the big win? Did you get Steve over for a Star Wars festival? Or show you little figurines, match your little figurines?
I know you're a fan. You're a fan, but mate, you're not. I'm what they call a mega fan. You come into my home theatre and you'll think I'm in a Star Wars museum because everything under the sun.
We're going to get into that later.
Yeah.
We're going to get into. We've got to save that one, Shannon.
Yes. And happy to be called a nerd too, by the way. It won't be the first time.
I'm glad you happen to be called it because it's going to happen all season.
Look, you're supposed to pick on us two, not the guests.
You guys are too good for
He
me.
knows me so well, mate.
Very good. Well, we might dive into that first top four topic of the morning, which is the top four with Steve Fenech. And the first thing I want to ask you, which we ask all of our guests, is the top four things that Rabbitohs listeners may not know about you.
Okay, number one, Mario's book, Personal Best. I wrote that.
Oh,
so that was it's told in the first person. So I interviewed him over a number of weeks, and then I wrote the book. I wrote that back in '93. So not many people would know I wrote that. The other number two would be the former sports editor of the Daily Telly. So a lot of people see me as a tech person now, but I was a sports writer and sports editor before that for the Daily Telegraph. I was sports editor during a little event called the Sydney Olympics, which was a busy fortnight. Number three, I'm a licensed drone pilot. So if you need any aerial photography, I'm a licensed pilot. I can do that for you.
Oh, Leroy, he want to be on his game.
Yeah, he would, wouldn't he?
Yeah, because you still film the training sessions. Yeah.
Lee
I remember
Richardson.
talking to you about that years ago when you first, and you were one of the first or only clubs that do that.
Yeah,
Like,
at first we were one of the
see?
only ones. I'd say everyone does it
Cutting
now.
edge,
but,
mate. Cutting edge, the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, Lee's in charge of our drone, but just keep him on his toes.
And you mentioned the last one. I'm also an astrophotographer. And what that involves is I've got a telescope and a mount and special astro camera, and I'll show you after the show. So no point showing you during the podcast, but I'll show you some of my images that of all these things that I've shot in the deep sky objects in the like nebula and galaxies and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I've seen some of your photos, and I remember we talked the other week about when I went to Cape Town a few years ago, back in 2014, and we were at a safari park, and they had the giant telescope out for us one night to have a look into the sky, and they said you can see Saturn. Yep. And I'm thinking, what am I going to see here? Like, I'm going to see this little blob, like nothing, and they're going to tell me it's Saturn. I'm going to go, wow, that's Saturn. Anyway, you look through this giant telescope, and it was clear as a bell. This round blue planet with the rings around it, you could see it clear as anything.
That's amazing. Seeing that for the first time, I remember that when I did that too. I've seen Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars when it was in the sky late last year. That's remarkable. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I've seen that too through the telescope, and I couldn't believe when I looked up there was a random South guy. I thought, what's he doing up there? They're absolutely everywhere.
There's red and green up there.
I'm disappointed. I thought it was going to be a Mars bar.
It's coming.
Joke of the week, is it? That's pretty good, though.
Not bad. Some of your best.
They're everywhere.
Very good. So let's talk about early life in the Fennick family. One of 4 brothers, and 3 that played with South Sydney.
That's right. Yeah, myself, my brother, Mario, of course, and my brother Joe, my late brother Joe. He was a South man. Went to play for the Roosters as well after South. Yeah, he wasn't. He saw an opportunity over the road, mate, and took it. And good luck to him. But, it was. I remember playing a lot of footy with my brothers. As I mentioned, they were a bit older than me. Like Joe was 8 years older than me. Mario was 7 years older than me. But I'd always tag along and play our touch footy and. They take me down the park, and that was sort of footy. They were playing footy all the time, and that was all we did as well. But I was the only one who played for botany. I was a botany Rams junior. All my brothers, including my younger brother Michael, they all played for mascot.
Right.
But we had a gun botany side with Mavo played in my side. Steve Maven, Manoa Thompson later on played with us as well. We won, I think, 7 comps in a row and like 3 undefeated. It was a great side that we had, and our last comp that we won was in 1983, and I was still at school, of course, and then I was playing in our school side. I went to school, actually, Ello and I went to the same high school, to Pagewood Morris Brothers, and Ello, I think, was captain of the A grade when I was thinking in year 8 or year 9. And school footy,
Hello, cop that.
Yeah, it was school footy. I really enjoyed.
Hello, repeated 6 times. So they finished school at the same
time. You got a couple of years on me. No, but footy was all we did back then. It was great, and school footy, as I mentioned, was fantastic because Pagewood, we were Souths, Marcelin was Easts. And you had Cogra was like St George, Lewisham was Canterbury, so it was like a little mini NRL comp.
Yeah,
and played against some amazing players. And one memory, it's kind of a bad memory, sticks in my mind when we played in the under-16s. We were undefeated all season, played against Marcelin in the grand final and lost. And to this day, that still troubles me. That was 1984. I think all from under 12s to A grade, it was a Pagewood Marcelin grand final. I think we only won one of the games, and we lost after being undefeated all year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some really good
still pain. I still feel the pain of that. Yeah.
Really good quality football at schoolboy level back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was awesome. And it was back when the Commonwealth Bank Cup was on. Remember, you used to be on TV, and I think Greg Alexander and Sterlo were the product of schoolboy footy, and it was a great time. Yeah, I had a fantastic time playing. It was the MCC comp for Pagewood every Thursday. Remember, we played Thursdays. Nagle Park was our home ground, and then we'd travel to the other grounds. Yeah, it was
the only day I went to school.
That's when he was working as a teacher.
Solid.
Actually, I was just talking about Pagewood and the MCC house.
You're a Pagewood boy too, aren't you, mate?
I certainly am, and I had the pleasure of playing.
He blew in though.
I just came in to help him win the MCC. That's all.
Well, you played with my brother Michael.
Well, that's what I was just about to say.
My brother was in your side.
I was just about to say, Michael was an outstanding hooker, and Michael was part of the squad, the Pagewood Morris side that won Pagewood's first ever MCC. Yes. And he got revenge against Marcelin for you because we knocked them out in the semi-final. Michael had a whale of a game that day. I remember it distinctly. And Michael was a very, very strong player. Probably would have played for South, but there was this other great hooker around at the time. And Sean Garlick. Michael was a fantastic. And I played against him in about 4 grand finals as well, Michael. He played for Mascot. I played for the Great Kenzo side.
Yep.
We beat him in all 4. But the point is, Michael was always a really, really tough
goal
opponent.
kicker too. He was goal kicker.
Yeah.
Mate, I thought he was halfback, actually. He played halfback.
At
Mikey?
Mascot, he did.
Yeah.
At Pagewood
Oh,
Marist,
he was hooker. There you go. Yeah.
He pushed yours truly to the back row. But
There you go. No, and you're right. You did beat Marcelin and to get to the final, and you won it. Was that 92 or
against Lewisham. Big Solomon Mano. He's never been the same after he felt the wrath of my couple of shots.
I played against Paul Osborne. Paul Osborne played against me. He played for Lewisham, Paul Osborne.
Yeah, he did. He did, yeah. Actually, next week we might do a feature on the Donato family. Just on Shannon.
Yeah. Just keep talking about himself.
Please do. Yes.
4-1.
Solo, we got into a bit of a stink that game, and he hit me with that when he left, so I was begging for a ride.
Very good. Now, we've heard Mario talk about he started playing rugby league basically to try and fit in.
Yes.
Was that similar for you, or was it more about following your brothers?
Yeah, it was following along, I think. It was footy or nothing. That was kind of the vibe back then, and we used to play any opportunity we had. We'd have a football and be kicking the ball around. We used to live in Botany, and there was a patch of ground. We used to call it the side. Let's go play on the side. It was this. We used to play footy there every afternoon. And it was just a reflex action. There was nothing else you could have done back then. And all my mates were playing for Botany as well. And Borley Park was just around the corner from our house. So it was easy to get to training and back. And mate, it was all I wanted to do.
Yeah. Now we often see your mum Doris with you at the games.
She's first in the car with me. She's before my wife. She comes to the game with me.
Well, was she begging for a daughter?
Yeah, she was, mate. She was hoping I'd be a girl, but I disappointed her. And then Mikey came along.
I'm fighting my tongue.
Yeah,
I think it's bleeding.
But no, she didn't have any daughters, but she's got some lovely daughters-in-law and some great granddaughters as well now. So
very good.
Yeah, so all good there.
And she's very passionate at the
game. She's with me every game, every single game. If I'm invited, I say, look, I need to bring my mum with me. And she's always there with me, and my wife comes along too. If there's a function on or something, she'll be there. If there's a wine and a feed in it, she'll be there. But,
sounds like a nice family. Sounds like my family.
No, she'll come along. I take my son with me too, my son Aaron, or anyone who wants to come along. Well, I'm there every week. So if anyone else wants to accompany me, they're more than welcome. But Mum's always there.
I've seen Dad in the gym a couple of times up here.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's up here. Yeah, my dad's 82 now. He's still fighting fit. Yeah,
he is.
Touch wood, the genes, mate. It's in the genes that I'm as fit as him when I'm 82.
Hello,
yeah,
can I just ask, what were you doing in the gym to see Joey there? Did you get lost?
He left his wallet in there. Got off on the wrong floor.
Oh, this isn't the cafe.
This isn't Pinocchio's.
Pinocchio's doesn't open for breakfast. Don't you know that?
Now, you mentioned earlier having the opportunity to play with Mario at first grade level, but let's take it back a little bit before that. What about your first grade debut? We saw footage of it on Twitter.
Yeah,
recently,
Trevor
of your mate,
that.
Trevor
Yeah,
Long.
that's right. It was, but I made my debut for my first year in grade. It was 1988. It was May the 28th. Remember the date, of course. And the thing that week is that Mario had an infection in his elbow, so he was named but couldn't play because he was had an elbow infection. And the reserve grade hooker at the time was Paul Judd, and he'd been suspended for I think he elbowed Sterlo, copped 6 weeks. So he was out. Mario was out with his infection, and so I trained with the first grade squad late that week and fit in at hooker and didn't know for sure that I was going to play until the next morning. George said, "Look, we'll let you know." I think they were going to put Wayne Chisholm at hooker, but then they decided, "Look, we need a specialist hooker," so they decided to bring me up and. Because I was a cadet journalist at the time, working at the Daily Telly. So, and I was actually a league writer. I was writing league as part of my cadetship at that time. So it was the next morning, the back page headline, I think South's gamble on rookie, had my little headshot there, and Ray Chesterton wrote the story, made up all my quotes, didn't even bother to talk to me, made up all my quotes to say how excited I was.
Sound like the Telegraph.
Doesn't sound like
Harry Debutant had 4 pages.
Yeah, 4 pages.
But it was the fact that it was against Wests, or we played against Wests. And you got to remember the time, as I mentioned, I was covering league matches. I was a league rider. I was like number 6 below Frelingos, Hanson, Prentice, Adams, Chesterton. I was the lowest ranked league rider, so I'd get sent to all the crap games. And the crap games, the lower team was Wests. Here's me, been writing about West, bagging Wests in the paper, like naming them how bad they're going. Warren Ryan threatening to ban me from the dressing room. And then I'm lining up the blokes I was writing about. They're running at me now.
No.
So that made for an interesting debut. So,
what a difference in journalism today, mate. When you were back doing it, the games weren't all live on TV, and people you had to write on the games back then, didn't you?
Did you ever?
Write on what happened in the 16th minute of the first half.
Yeah, you'd have to sort of
drop his third ball for the match and things like that. You know,
no, you're right. And the games were also on at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Sundays at the 3 o'clock. Remember they used to let's go around the grounds, and but now they're all back to back. They're all one after the other. And yeah, you're right. It was more writing. The report was like a blow by blow of the match, of what happened in the 16th minute, as you said, and trying to add a bit of colour to it. But then by the time I became sports editor, it was like the situation was you could watch every game live, and it became more of like I just tell my reporters, look, people have seen this already. You need to give me something that is more about the game, not a blow by blow. And that you're right. It has changed immensely since then.
It used to give you the facts back then, and now it's just like reading a glossy magazine.
Gossip column, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more of a
Yeah,
gossip.
it is. Yeah, player movement, and then our columnists used to come up with a lot of great stories. And I remember when I was sports editor, one of the biggest stories when I was sports editor was the Bulldog salary cap scandal. Remember they broke the salary cap. That was a big story, and having to cover that was pretty big. The other big story, and when the Canterbury salary cap thing happened, and they realised, look, we've got to get rid of some players. I think my favourite back page I ever did as a sports editor was a story about how Tim Sheens, who I think was coaching the Cowboys at the time, wanted to buy some of the Bulldog players, and the headline I came up with was. First of all, the picture I had was I superimposed Tim Sheen's head on a person who's pushing a shopping trolley, and the headline I came up with was, "How much is that doggy in the window?" It was the back page.
That's very
my
good.
proudest back page I've ever done.
Quality
It was
journalism.
awesome. Yeah.
Exactly.
But as
Can you
Phil-
sing the song?
No thanks.
How much is it?
But it was because at the time I was sports editor, Phil Rothfield was executive sports editor. So I was sports editor of the Daily Telly. There was another guy, I think Bill Rule was editor of the sports editor of the Sunday Telly, and Phil Rothfield was our executive sports editor. And I remember him saying to me that what we used to say to each other, he said, "Mate, good journalism. That was very good journalism." What do you, the back page, that was our little catch cry. Good, you come up with a good story, a good line. Yeah, good journalism. He used to say to me.
Hello, can I ask, like Steve talking about that story is really interesting. Could you imagine today, seriously, if some of the journos played a game of NRL? Could you?
Oh,
what do you think would happen?
How would Danny Whiteley go, you reckon? Hey? How would Rothfield go?
I'd say the match review committee would be very busy.
Yeah,
Be like Thunderdome.
yeah. There was no video ref back then, or the scrutiny wasn't as much. But I gave as good as I got. Let's just say on that day, and I remember that we won as well. We won the game, and I remember I was nervous as hell, of course. And I remember Les Davidson was the prop. And our first scrum, he could see how nervous I was, and he put his arm around me. He goes, "Don't worry, mate, we'll look after you."
Yeah.
And I thought, "Oh, mate, that's and then bring it on." I thought all my nerves just disappeared.
Yeah.
I thought, "Right, let's go, let's do this."
Very good. Very good.
Everyone in the opposition started shitting themselves.
That's right.
We'll continue on with the media theme now. We're in it now. An interesting point you make around the timing was you must have been involved as deputy sports editor or sports editor at the time that the Rabbitohs were kicked out of the competition.
Yep.
And you're working for News Limited. That
I
must
was,
have been
mate.
a real
Yeah.
internal struggle for you.
Absolutely. I think I was in a very unique position where there was no one. Like I played for the club, was working for News Limited, and there was the court case going on, and all this stuff happened. A Super League was happening, and you would get people ringing up and telling us what they think of us, and I'm never buying the paper again. And the thing I couldn't say was that, like, I agree with them. I agree with you. The day South got kicked out of the comp, in the office. I wore a black armband in the office just to express my disappointment.
Yeah.
And, they respected that and they knew how I felt about it, but I still had to do my job.
Yeah.
Like my job was still working in there in sport. But there was one occasion there where before I became sports editor in 2000, but in when the march happened, which was a Sunday, that was 99, the march, was it 99?
There was one in 99 and one in 2000.
The first march I can remember, which was the one led by George down from the club all the way through to Town Hall.
Yep.
That was on a Sunday. And at the time, I filled in as a sports editor. I was deputy at the time. I'd be a sports editor because that was his day off. So I'd be sports editor. And I remember the editor at the time, Kyle Allen, was the editor of the Daily Telegraph. Very famous editor, was my editor at the Mirror, the Telly. He went over then to the New York Post and just a legend in journalism.
Yeah.
And I remember him calling me in the office and saying, and I walked in there saying, okay, so my thought was that the march was going to be what I call FBI, front, back, and inside. We used to say it's FBI. And I remember him saying to me, he goes, "No, mate, bury it." Yeah, he said to me. I said, "Are you sure? This is a big story." He goes, "Bury it." And so back then, the sports section of the telly on a Monday was a lift out. So there was the front half and the back half of the lift out. I still remember the page number. It was page 73. I put it on, and it was past the fold. Or it was on the page just before the racing details and results started. And I thought it was the one day I was ashamed to be a journalist. That one day. So you wake up the next morning, of course, it's splashed all across the Herald main story on the TV. It was massive news, and people knew me as the sports editor back then. They thought it was me doing that, and you couldn't write a note on every copy of the paper that it wasn't my idea. No. So, mate, I was just ashamed of that, of what happened, and we've seen the outcome. And when the thing that got my goat though was when South were readmitted to the competition. They went to town on it. Yeah. The paper went to town. What a big story. And I'm thinking, you hypocrites. I'm thinking, I was filthy. I'm thinking what we've went through. Yeah. And we just rode the wave. We just they did their job. We were just, and back then though, especially during Super League, we were, whatever back page we come up with, it was you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Someone would read an angle into it to say that, you're Murdoch lovers and all this sort of gear and Super League and all this. So it was a very difficult time. I'm sure you guys remember the Super League war, how tough it was. Yeah. And here's me right in the guts of it, right in the middle of it, trying to deal with not only what the company's doing, but also what the readers are ringing in and telling me about. The day South got kicked out of the comp, there were people ringing up. Honestly, I'd put the phone down and the phone would ring the second it was put down again. Yeah. And people were saying to me, the Foxtel box is on the footpath. Come and get it. I've thrown it out the front door. I'll never buy your paper again. And some of the colourful language they shared with me. It was a very emotional time, and I was right in the heart of it.
Wow, that must have been such a difficult internal struggle.
It was
for
tough,
you. Just
very tough.
That.
Yeah.
Steve, you also mentioned one time, I don't know whether it was the second march, you told them about burying a story deep inside the paper and near the races. The good thing is, Ella would have saw that story near the races.
Pick a winner, back a winner, mate.
That was 20-something years ago, and he still hasn't since then. But I was just going to say, I also remember you telling me a story about, them being News Corp or News Limited as they were at the time, being really worried about the sentiment and the tone and barricading up the offices.
Yeah, that's the march right. So past. The march was on a Sunday, and News Limited is in Holt Street, which is like a block or 2 blocks back from Central and Chalmers Street, sort of not far from where the march was going to go. Yeah. And the News Corp, they were worried that the fans were going to come and just trash the building. So what they did, they boarded up the whole bottom floor of News Limited. There was a shop and glass and everything. The whole bottom level of News Limited was all boarded up in anticipation that someone might come and destroy the place. But not one supporter came near the place. So I think they were a bit worried for nothing there. But you're right. They did go to all those precautions.
Yeah, what an amazing time for the club, but also someone in the unique position that Steve was
in.
Yes.
Having to make those decisions and maintain a level of professionalism for your career, but also have that struggle in your heart.
It weighed on me heavily. Still does.
Yeah. You know, what I remember from that time is we were on death's door as a club, and ultimately it was our members and our people power that got us back. But I remember hoping that the club would one day get back to its glory days and become pride of the league, but I just never saw a way in which it could happen. I guess I lost hope a little bit, and it was amazing that we got back in the comp, but we did struggle for a little bit after we got back in, and I thought, okay, we might just peter along for a while. But to look at where we are now with, no matter what metric you use to measure the success of a club, we're leading, whether that's, membership numbers, merchandise sales numbers, ratings on TV, digital traffic, whatever it is. We're
absolutely.
So we're back to pride of the league from being on death's door. Like we were absolutely.
It's a remarkable story.
On life support.
And when Souths made the grand final in 2014, I turned my website into my website. I turned to red and green and wrote a story about what this means to me and Souths fans. How 14 years ago we weren't around, and to come from being non-existent to winning a premiership is just a remarkable achievement in considering what we've gone through.
It just epitomised, what our members and fans are all about. I mean, the club was born in Redfern back in a tough area back in the day, and culturally people have come through there and just, they've had struggles. In certain areas in their lives, and this was another big struggle for them. But
absolutely,
like everything in South, as you say, when we first came back in the 2004, 2005, we were getting some terrible hidings. Yeah, but the same people would come back to the club after the game and clap the players.
Yeah.
And to be fair, during those periods, I mean, the players we had there weren't as good as some of the ones in other clubs, but there was no way they were laying down in games. They just couldn't get the job done, and that's been the struggle all along. And I think having the members go through that and then come through out the other end like they have today, it's great for the club. We didn't merge with anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
that's
the
important
biggest
too, I reckon,
decision of all.
Absolutely.
That we didn't merge with anyone else.
Yeah.
We've held
You can't
our
take that
identity.
back once you've done it.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And all the clubs that have seem to have troubles down the track.
Yeah.
With the divide, So
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Imagine merging with the Roosters like they were suggesting back then.
Wouldn't-
The big
wouldn't
talk was the
Sydney
Sharks.
fan-
I think they wanted us to merge with the Sharks. I remember
Yeah.
we had a little like a mock up of a jersey, so the South Sydney Sharks. And I think the mock up was like a cartoon of my brother. So we got my brother and put him in this mock jumper that we made up. But like you said, no, sticking true to our own, staying as our own club, I think was crucial to our success today because. Like I said, you merge, you can't undo that knot. You can't untie that knot once it's done.
Like, wouldn't all Sydney fans love to have stood on their own now?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They merged with Manly and then disappeared when they got stuffed around.
Yeah, and by us, it just made us stronger internally by sticking together.
Yeah.
And then, the rest is history now.
Yeah, they certainly underestimated the support and the love of the club, didn't they? That's one thing that I remember the day before because the court case was coming up and it was like odds on the Souths were going to get out of the comp, kicked out of the comp, and I was in the meeting, the editorial meeting with every like there was Peter Frelingos in there, Kyle Allen, everyone was in the room, and everyone thought, okay, when this happens, when, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Has anyone thought that we might stay in? Like, anyone given that consideration? And Chippy, God bless him, he's the late Peter Frelingos turned around and goes, and he, as one of Chippy's lines, he goes, Steve, in the fair dinkum department, mate, they're gone. And he had the best mail around, so he was right. But I still held out hope right to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you moved on from the sports side of things and moved into the tech side of things.
Yeah,
so was that always a love for you?
Mate, I was a tech man. Even when I was a sports writer, I was always an early adopter. I think I bought the first DVD player, was a massive thing. It cost me a bomb, and I think I got one of the first iPods that came out. So I was always into the tech. And at the time, I was working in sport, but what had happened, they took me off sport for a period. So the Herald had started a Central Coast newspaper, and the Herald couldn't have something that News Limited never had. So they said, right, they took me off sport. So right, you lead this team, make a paper to oppose this paper. I went, okay, and they had their own title. And my strategy was, right, we're going to use the strength of the Daily Telly brand and make the Central Coast extra. So it's a lift out within an already strong newspaper. Mm-hmm. And I had like a team of about like 15, 20 people, and we started this, and like months later I handed it off and the Herald's paper folded, and we were still going. I think to this day there are still Central Coast extra pages in the Daily Telegraph. And so I fully expected to go back to sport. But they saw the success of that. They said, no, we want you to do other things. So they made me assistant editor of the paper. And one of my tasks was to come up with new products for the paper. And And as I mentioned, I'm into the tech, and I was frustrated of me reading all the tech in all the other papers, the Australian, the Herald. There was nothing in our paper, and so I pitched an idea where, this was early 2000, so 2002, 2003. There were suddenly people buying flat screen TVs. We had digital cameras and all this stuff in our life, and there was nothing really in our paper to sort of hold people's hand to explain all this to them. So the picture I had was we need a lift out for people who know nothing about tech.
Yeah,
it'll appeal to advertisers. It'll appeal to the readers.
Appeal to Mark
that was the pitch. Yeah. It was
says the bloke sending text messages via email somehow.
Yeah, but no, it's just the idea. I floated the idea, and in 2003, October 2003, we thought, okay, let's give it a crack. And it just went nuts. The advertisers loved it, and it went. Then the idea that I had was called the Connect Lift Out. It went to Sydney, and then Melbourne had it, Brisbane, Adelaide. The whole group then took it on. Was eventually to the point where it was making more money than the Daily Telly sports section.
Wow!
At one point, which is massive. And Harvey Norman jumped on. I think they had like an $8 million sponsorship deal for the group, and it was a huge success. And so that sort of set me on the path of tech, and became a tech writer, and was traveling around the world to all the events and consumer electronic shows and everything. But at the end of 2010, what they did, they merged all the sections. They created, they created a, rather than having individual sections, they wanted to make one section for the whole group. And that was a total screw up. They totally ruined the section. And I thought, look, I can do this better on my own. So that's what prompted me to leave and start Tech Guide. I left in December 2010, and Tech Guide was born January 2011. And we just had our 10th anniversary a few months ago. And it's the same sort of approach where, 99% of the population aren't experts, which is a huge audience. And sort of I'm talking to the mums and dads who are trying to deal with the new technology.
Yep. And media managers that don't know
people,
how to
exactly right. Yeah,
but
it's been a massive success. The business is booming. It's been great. I've got a lot of support from a lot of companies and advertisers, including the great TCL is one of Tech Guide's advertisers. They've been with me for years. Yep. So I've had a lot of great support, and the site's doing very well. I've got the podcast as well, and Trevor and we've been podcasting for more than 10 years now. So we do a weekly podcast as well, but on my Tech Guide podcast, I get a lot of other guests. I've had Adam Reynolds on my show, and I've had other various celebrities on there as well, talking about how they use tech and how they use it in their personal and professional life. But it's been great now, and the site's doing really well.
Yeah, that's great.
Steve, congratulations. 10 years of Tech Guide. That's a fair achievement, and, tech's constantly evolving. I've got to say how you said you've always been in the tech. Actually, so is Ello. You were saying you got the first DVD players or whatever. Ello has always been in the tech. He had the first Abacus and the first sundial when they came out back in his day, and the hourglass, the sand glass. Ello had those cutting edge when he was a young bloke.
Yep. Old school. That's good.
Very
What's
good.
the score
Still
now?
got the first pork sausage that ever come out.
What's the score over there, Ello?
We've lost count.
No one laughed at that one. Didn't it?
Plenty to not much.
What's an abacus?
I was going to say, you've done 10 years of two blokes talking tech. We're just hoping to get to 10 episodes of this.
But that's not looking good.
2 weeks to go.
Behind, Jess.
2 weeks to go. We get to number 10.
You know what? You got the best ingredient. You got the banter, which is what people like. Trevor and I, we gibber on about other stuff. That's why people listen. They wait for us to go off on a tangent for 20 minutes. Yep. That's why people listen. And you guys have got that. It's funny.
And that's his life, going off on tangents.
I was going to say, mate. You say the banter's why people...
Shannon Tangent Donato.
You say banter's the reason people listen. Banter's the reason my wife doesn't listen, actually.
Well, that's why we talk about our wives on our podcast, because they don't listen, mate, so you can get away with it.
Well, the best thing about it, he wrote that down about abacus, and he couldn't spell it properly.
That's why I said sundial instead.
Oh, very good. Now, outside of footy and outside of your work, you've obviously got a lot of interest. We mentioned Star Wars earlier on, and your astrophotography, your drone piloting, but you're also involved in the South Sydney Past Players Association.
I have been for the last couple of years, and Shannon's on that committee as well. And we meet, I think, once a month and organise events, and try to get all the old boys together from all different eras. I proudly come to all those old boy functions, and I remember talking to Sean saying, mate, I'd love to get involved if there's any more I can do, sort of maybe lend my tech expertise, maybe if there's any kind of there. And I think I redesigned the logo. That was sort of one of my jobs I had to do, and it's been great being involved. I've always got a deep love for the club, as you know, and being involved with the past players has been a pleasure. It's been really enjoyable.
There's a big event coming up too, isn't there?
There is.
Yes,
there
excitement machines.
Thank you for the plug. Yeah, we're celebrating.
What a segue! What a man!
Yeah, well, he's getting silky smooth, silky smooth. It's on Saturday, the 1st of May, here at the Juniors in the Wintle Room. Saturday, 1st of May, we're celebrating excitement machines. 9 of the most exciting players for the Rabbitohs over the last 60 years, and they'll all be in attendance, all bar. I'll let the cat out of the bag. Greg Inglis is one of them, and unfortunately, he's not able to attend.
How did he get a vote?
But he'll be there in spirit.
How did Shannon not put himself in there? That's what we had to talk him down.
There's a few other spots.
We had to talk. Say Shannon or Greg Inglis. Next thing.
Listen, it'll all change when you see him come up as MC on the bottom. It'll all change.
We've had a late entrant.
I've brought my own highlights package. Can we get this on the screen
for 3 seconds? So it's on Saturday, the 1st of May at the Juniors. It's a lunchtime, 12 to 4. It'll be a great day. Not only will the excitement machines be in the room and get to meet those guys, but we'll have a number of our current NRL squad there and some of our coaching staff as well. So Saturday, 1st of May, if you want to get your tickets, email events@southplayers.com. That's events@southplayers.com for the function on 1st of May from 12 to 4. Be a great event. It's $150 a ticket or $1,400 for a table of 10. Be a really good afternoon with current and past greats, and the old boys always put on great functions, and the proceeds from this function, most importantly, go to keeping the old boys connected to the club. So on all of our regional away games, so we've got games in Dubbo and Sunshine Coast and Central Coast, have old boys events, and it subsidises the proceeds from this, and also helps out some of our old boys when they hit hard times as well. And even now, we have old boys now that an option for them just to register online and get tickets to every Rabbitohs home game at Stadium Australia as well. And we give them a little food and beverage voucher as well. And it's just about keeping those old boys connected, felt part of the club. Ello's been really, really strong supporter of it. I know when players make their debut, Ello calls on the old boys to present the jerseys and those kind of things. And I think our old boys association's never been stronger. And I think the connection from the old boys to the club, and so the current squad know the history and the DNA of what they represent and understand those that dug the well. It's been really strong, and it's because of people like Steve on the committee and current management in the football department like LO really supporting the old boys, just celebrating our history.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we saw the great work that the old boys did as well recently up in Port Macquarie with young Jake Spurtle and supporting all of the fundraising that we were helping with for his health battle that he's going through. And there was a bus full. I believe you drove the bus, Shannon. Amazing they got there and back. But it was
somebody said we're going for Chinese. Next minute we rocked up in Port Macquarie.
They still had a good weekend. But it's great to see that the old boys are getting behind all aspects of the club.
Absolutely. You know, they've really, really bought in. And as I said, it's important to acknowledge those that dug the well. And so the current players know what they represent when they pull on the red and green. And no club has a prouder history than us. We've won 21 premierships. We're one of only 2 foundation clubs. You know, we are the pride of the league, and our old boys help perpetuate that culture in our club, which is really important.
And the current squad is going to be at this event too, aren't they? So they're very supportive of any of our events as well.
Yeah,
that's a thrill to have them there also.
It was a great event in Mudgee too for the old boys. A lot of them came up there. There's a group of them got there a couple of days before, played a bit of golf, had a few dinners together.
Went to the races, and then obviously the game. A few beers too, I think they had, didn't they?
Maybe, It was interesting. Mudgee's renowned as a wine district, and apparently they ran out of wine after 4 hours. So
it was had to squeeze some more.
I bet you didn't drive the bus around Mudgee.
It was Uber around Mudgee that weekend.
I was designated driver that weekend. That was my job.
You wanted to, Jess.
I was. So to wrap it all up, of the top four of Steve Fenech. Your top 4 moments of your time at the Rabbitohs.
Mate, well, obviously my first grade debut was a big deal, mate, and having Mario was sort of in my ear and very supportive. And at the time, I think, mate, all I want to do is make you. If I make you happy that I've gone all right, then that'll do. And I did. And that was a real proud moment. I also represented New South Wales in the under-21s 2 years in a row. 88, 89. In 1988, we were actually coached by Jack Gibson.
Yeah, right.
Who was our coach back then, and. I think Darren Brown and Scott Wilson were also in that squad from Souths.
Yep. And
Paul Harrigan, I think, was the prop. I was hooker, and Paul Harrigan was my prop in the. So it's a lot of great players in that side. So that was a big thrill. The moment, forgettable moment or disappointing moment was I did my knee in 1989. I did my ACL. And that was the year we actually went on to win the comp. So our under-21 side, it was against Penrith at the footy stadium. I think Sean Garlick, short pass off Sean Garlick, and I'm in the clear, fullback to beat. Stepped off my left foot and stepped off it too hard and actually did my knee stepping off my foot. So no one laid a hand on me. I just fell to the ground and was out for 6 months, didn't miss the grand final. So I walked the lap of honour with the boys in 89. That was the year when Canberra, remember, they beat Balmain in the extra time grand final. Yeah. So we beat Canberra in that grand final as well. So that was a regrettable moment. But the other highlight was I told you how proud I was to play with Mario, but I actually played against him as well. So my last year at South was 91, and Mario's first year was at Norths. Yeah. And I played first grade that day against my brother at North Sydney Oval. And that was a remarkable experience. And they just beat us too. It was 14-12. They won the game. I remember late in the game, Mario's there trying to sort of milk the bit of time. I said, come on, mate, get up. We could win this. And he took his time. We had a really nice photo after the game. Like Bob Barker, who was, I was still working at the paper at the time. He came up and took this really nice photo of my brother and I. He's in his Norths gear and I'm in my South gear, we're sort of hugging each other. And I got that in a frame at home. It's also in the book. We included that in personal best, but that was another key moment as well. And my parents were on egg. They didn't know who to support that day. They were praying for a draw, but North's got the money that day.
Very good, very well. It's the next hour, if you two want to leave, we're going to do the top 4 of every episode of Star Wars, if you two want to take off. So bring it on, mate. Let's go.
Now, can I ask, have you watched it, mate? Have you ever watched them?
Yes, I have, actually.
Okay, all of them?
No.
Have you got Disney Plus? They've now got the Ewoks Caravan of Courage on there.
No, I don't.
And the Star Wars Holiday Special as well. Yeah, that's a cracker.
Can I just say, I don't have Disney Plus, but I do have a life. So, I'm one better than you.
Allegedly. Well, Steve, thank you very much for taking us through all that. An amazing story and an amazing career you've had in football and outside of footy. That chat about the Super League period, I've been wanting to ask you about that for a long time, and the internal struggle with that must have been really tough. But thank you for coming in, and I hope you stick around for the rest of the the episode. We've got some good stuff to go through. So we'll go to our first break. Now, we mention it every week, the official Rabbitohs merchandise store down at the Heffron Park Tennis Centre on Bunurong Road in Maroubra. They've got all the latest gear from classic sportswear in there now, the jerseys, the polo shirts. They've got hats, flags, caps, everything that you could need to get ready for the games out at Stadium Australia and everywhere else that we play around the country during the 2021 season. So make sure you head down there, and it's right near where the new Community and High Performance Centre is going to be built, so you can check out that area as well and see where the new home of the Rabbitohs will be in the next couple of years. And if you can't make it there, if you live a little bit further away than the South Sydney district, you can shop online at shop.rabbitohs.com.au, and they've got all the latest gear as well, Shannon. And as we like to do each week, any new gear in this week?
We certainly do, Jez. With Anzac Day being a couple of weeks away, we've just launched our Anzac jersey, which is a tribute to 100 years of the RAFF. So it's got a very strong RAFF feel and theme, and it's a fantastic jersey. It's like nothing else that we've ever done before, and it's a great homage to all of our servicemen, but particularly the RAFF. So encourage people to get out, because I don't think we'll we'll have one like it again for a long time. It's very unique and very rare. So encourage everybody to jump online and have a look. And as you said, you can get out to the shop or online, but we're also at every Rabbitohs home game, you can get your kit as well.
Yeah, it is certainly unique. Like, I don't think I've ever... We've had a couple of different jersey colours, the blacks and the whites, particularly with the Indigenous jerseys over the year, but this is a blue jersey to signify the Air Force and their 100-year anniversary. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's quite striking and something very different. And a lot of questions that we've seen online is, we're playing the Titans in that game and it's looks like a Titans jersey. Are they going to be wearing a blue jersey as well? I think we can say they aren't.
No, we can say they're definitely not wearing a blue jersey. The clash won't be an issue. They've got their own Anzac themed jersey, which is different to their traditional jersey as well. I won't let the cat out of the bag for those guys. But, Russell had a big hand in this in our liaison with the RAFF, and it was something he was really passionate about. The RAAF are very thankful that, out of the entire Defence Force, the Army often gets the recognition, but the RAFF are certainly a crucial part of our Defence Forces, and they're great servicemen, and lots of the RAFF servicemen have lost their lives in service of our country over the years. So I think it's important that we acknowledge them, and this is our club's homage to those guys.
Yeah, we've done some fantastic Anzac round jerseys over the years. The ones that stand out for me were the ones with all the names of the diggers that had represented South Sydney on the jersey. There was also the predominantly white jersey that had the War Memorial from Redfern Park on the front of the jumper. And this one, as I say, it's a real striking jersey. For the collectors of the jerseys out there, this is definitely one to get because, as you say, it's unlikely we'll have a sky blue jersey, Rabbitohs jersey again, but you can see the RAAF influence on it around the logo and the Rabbitohs badge on the jumper. You can see the circle around it. It really does strike you as one of those Air Force planes in the Royal Australian Air Force.
Absolutely, you could be mistaken for an RAAF uniform, to be honest.
Yeah,
and that was the feeling.
Is that why it's blue? Is that the blue
absolutely?
Colour?
That's right. Yeah,
to match the uniform.
For the bigger guys, we could be mistaken for a plane.
Hello's an A380.
Very low flying plane. In all seriousness, it carries a real significant message. The jersey. I mean, the 100 years. I mean, we're club. We're over 100 years old as well. So to be able to go out and pay tribute to those people, as a Rabbitoh, just tells us a bit about what we're about.
Yeah,
and. I think it's significant that we're going to be wearing that and representing all those people.
Some of the comments we've seen online with people that are involved with the Air Force and the Defence Force are saying, I'm so honoured to see this jersey, and that's what it's about honouring these people that have laid their lives on the line for our country over the past 100 years.
Indeed it is.
Right.
Very good. So they're on pre-sale, I believe. There's limited numbers of those jumpers, so if you want to grab one, make sure you do right now. Jump on shop.rabbitohs.com.au to grab yours now. Righto, our next top 4 topic is the top 4 family connections in Rabbitohs history. We've been through the connections of the Fennick family and the 3 brothers that got to wear the mighty red and green of South Sydney. But we might start with you, Steve, with your list of the top 4 family connections in Rabbitohs history.
Well, I'm looking. Well, obviously, you can't go past the Burgess brothers. They're that's pretty big family connection right there. But I'm going to the next 3 family connections from when I was playing at the club. That'd be the Blake brothers. So Phil Blake, of course, we all know, but his brother Michael Blake was also a handy player. He was at the club at the time.
Centre was.
Yeah, he was a centre. Yes, that's right. The Ross brothers as well. Mark and Brett Ross were also great in the back line, both wingers. Yeah, and Darren McCarthy played with me, and his father, of course, is the legendary Bob McCarthy.
Yes.
So that's a pretty decent father-son connection there.
They are.
Well, you've knocked 3 of them out straight away, mate. Sorry, mate.
You mentioned the Ross family. You've got their sister in the cheer squad as well, Diana. She was a big fan of the club as well.
She is. She can good singer. Great singer,
She's pretty good.
Very good.
I cracked myself up.
Not bad. Very good. You mentioned quickly there the Burgesses. One of the notes I had on mine was that feat in 2013 where the 4 brothers all got to play together on the field at the same time at the end of that match. I think it was against the Tigers who were playing this week, but it was the first time that it had happened since 1910.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. What an amazing thing to happen
at Souths or at all?
At all.
Ever. Right.
Ever.
Wow.
It was just...
first time the Burgess brothers had played together since 1910. They had some great longevity, Jez.
Good for 90.
No wonder his shoulder gave way in the end.
I had to check because you were so busy on the footy field. Sometimes people thought there were 4 Shannon Donato's out.
He's at the kiosk. He's at the bar. He's at dummy half.
Busy or big?
Filling 4 spots in the defensive line.
Yeah. You know what? They didn't give me a jersey. They just used a paint roller and put the stripes on me.
Very good. Well, we might jump over to you, Shannon, now. And I believe you've got about 32 family connections.
Yeah, I've sort of narrowed it down to ones like Steve, ones I played with, and I played with, and he's now the CEO of the South Junior League competition, which is Luke Curry.
Oh, I'm gone.
That's it.
That was the one up my sleeve.
I just want to say, not a lot of people realise that the 3 generations of the Curry family played. Luke played with us, and I played with Luke. I was fortunate enough to play with Luke in the juniors, and his brother Ben and Kenzo coming through, who was also a very, very good footballer, great little nimble heart, and had great gamesmanship. So there was Luke Curry. There was his father Frank, who obviously played for the club, but also coached our first grade, coached all 3 grades at different stages.
He was coach when I was there. He was the first grade coach in my last season in 91.
He was also a strength and conditioning coach at the Rabbitohs too.
Frank was he? Yeah.
Before he was
Before
coach.
he became coach,
Before he stepped up.
He's still in great nick, actually,
Yeah.
Frank. I saw him in Mudgee.
Yeah,
I
I see him at the gym.
S&Cs back then, did they? Just trainers or something?
Yeah, trainer. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
He's a lovely.
He
Wide
was always fit back then.
Oh, yeah. I see him. He trains over down at my gym down at East Gardens there. I see him all the time.
Great guy, Frank, and beautiful family, the Curry family. Jill and Frank were great to me as kids. So there's Luke Curry, Frank Curry, and Frank's father, Frank Senior, also played for the club in 1942 to 1945, I think. He played 17 matches for the club, so that's sort of 3 generations. And so that's Luke's grandfather, the Curry grandfather. I think they used to call him Papa Dam. And the Curry grandmother, I think they called her Nan Bread. The Currys, I crack me up.
Very good.
He's here all week. He's here all week.
He's always good when it's related to food.
So the Curry family are definitely going to be there. 3 generations.
That's pretty solid. That's
Hey,
pretty good.
He was his number 1 too, the Curry.
Yeah.
Next up, I've got the Donut fam. No.
The Eclairs.
The next family I've got actually reminds me of Ella is the Fullers, because Ella's full of something. I don't know. I played with the Fuller brothers as well, and they were fantastic players. There was Matt, Paul, and Tim Fullers all played, around 1992, 1993. Yep. Fantastic players. Matt had a breakout year with us, and then he went over the Reds, and he had an even better year over there. And he was leading the Dally M, I remember from memory. I played against him, and he went from second row into hooker, and he was just braining them over there. And I think he must have got injured or whatever, but he's still over there. And we were taking games to Perth, and I'd catch up. They're still staunch South guys, the Fuller family, and they're a lovely family.
They'd get him into work for ABC Radio on those games.
Yes,
and
that's
call
right.
the games when we were playing over there.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah, and a passionate South guy, still fit as a fiddle like Ello and I, and he's a really nice guy. All 3 of the brothers are really nice. The other ones is the Gray family as well. There was quite a few of them. We know Brock, we know Aaron. I think David was their uncle as well. So Aaron and Brock Gray Brock played from 2014 to 2016, Aaron 2012 to 2017, and David played way back in 1972. But I think there are a few other Greys as well. I think there's about 50 shades of them, actually. He's got them all. Over the years.
Have you got a ring?
Got a little ring shot.
Let me program that in.
Let me find it. Let me find
a rim shot for this bloke.
Oh, what a letdown. I'll bucket it. Don't worry.
Yeah, nice work, mate.
just like my attempted humour, a letdown, yes.
Here we go. There we go.
Very good. Almost worth waiting for. Almost.
Hang on a sec.
He never thought he'd have to use it for you.
That's on my Illo page.
Yeah, that's right.
Please. Mate, I carry this show just quietly.
32-0 Ella.
You've done your homework there.
Carry
anyway,
you
Joe.
blokes at work on this show, and I get no respect. Honestly.
Any other families?
Did you leave any for Ello to talk about?
Have you mentioned the Donatos yet? I'm surprised. You
No, I haven't. But my brother was a fantastic player. I can tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, you've forgotten your son. Done.
Yes. Yeah, Jonesy boy went all right too. But no, the next family and the final fourth family, because I'll leave it to LA to pick 28 families, but the next family is the Longbottoms. There are lots and lots of Longbottoms. So there was Kevin Longbottom, prolific point scorer for the club, or Lummy as everyone knows, who's great uncle to currently Blake Taff, who's coming through our squads as well.
Yeah, right.
So a long connection there. But there was obviously Kevin Longbottom, but there was George, a great little halfback, Steve Longbottom, who played in various grades for the club and also still works here at the juniors. Bruce Longbottom, of course, fantastic winger for the club.
He was at South when I was there.
A fly, yeah. And
We used to call him 2GB, Too Good Bruce.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. 2GB we call him.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was at the club too, remember he lost his finger?
Yes.
He was a garbo and he jumped off the back of the truck and took his finger out.
Wow.
So then he had to put a little bit of padding on his hand when he played because he lost his ring finger. Because that's what the truck, his ring caught on the edge of the truck. And
I should have known that. I blew up one day when he dropped the ball.
You shouldn't have thrown it at his feet.
mate,
Oh, Jez,
So
Thank you, Jez.
he was a bit lighter. He said he could run a bit faster. He was a bit lighter. He had one less finger.
2GB, Too Good Bruce Longbottom. They used to call LA 2BE. Too bad, LO.
I thought it was 2BE, 2 bacon and eggs. It was like 2BE.
He's fitted in well.
He has. He's picked up the food.
You're not going to be here next week.
Go hard, mate. Go hard.
It wouldn't have been 2B. It would have been 4B. I'll give you the two. So the Longbottom. So we had Kevin, George, Steve, Bruce, Birdie. And as I said, Blake is Lummy's great nephew. And I believe Josh Cook is related to the family as well somehow.
He is.
So that's about 6 in the one family. That's beat that, Ello.
They're the Kardashians of South Sydney, the Longbottoms.
They are.
There's plenty of them.
Look, I
Great
had all
guys.
those once, so I'm not going to go through them all again. So I had some of them anyway. I had more than 4.
Yeah.
But there's one that people don't know. The Pubg family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mick.
Yeah.
Mick. And who's the
But to play at South,
Yeah.
you had Michael Podgy.
Yeah.
But he had 4 different personalities. So when he ran on the field, there was 4 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
That's gold, man.
That's
That's
a
good,
great
mate.
play. And
Yeah.
a really good play for us, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
Centre.
That's similar to the Walker family because we had Ben Walker play with us,
yeah.
Shane Walker, we had Chris Walker, and his other 6 personalities as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
And don't forget their cousin that used to like a drink, Johnny. He was a good player.
we did a.
His career was on the rocks, though. Not
Hang on.
Took Jez about 4 seconds to get there. Can you speak slowly for him, Mel?
He's doing a good job there on the box.
So have you got any others to add, Ella?
No, that'll do, mate.
All right.
So really, you didn't have any because that was that was no
we
families
took
whatsoever.
them all,
It's
mate.
only about 2 minutes to work that one out.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, of my ones, I had the Burgess family. I had the Murray family. So we had Corey Murray
Yes.
playing between 91 and 93. Then his son Cameron Murray's currently in the team.
Corey was there when I played with Corey too. When I was there.
very good.
Yeah, he was a
And,
good 5'8". Yeah.
Cam's actually going to play his 100th grade game this weekend.
Wow.
So under 20s and first grade this weekend. And then Cam's sister, Brianna, was playing with
that's
our
right.
women's team. So she had 11 games for South between 2018 and 2020. So a bit of a mix there with the Murray family. One from the past, the Quinn Liven family. So there were 5 brothers that all played for South. There was Alan, Oscar, Clinton, Leon and Jack. And then having a look back through the records, there was also a Robert Quinlivan that played lower grades, but I wasn't sure whether he was related, but you'd have to think with an unusual
With a name like that.
surname like
Solid
Quinlivan, that's a fair
chance.
chance. So that's 6. So you said to beat it, I did.
There you go.
Now I'm going to blow it out of the water. My last one. My last one, a famous Rabbitohs family. It's the Hutch family. Now, a lot of people may not know the Hutch family, but the hutches absolutely dominate the Australian sporting merchandise landscape. There's no less than 64 members of the Hutch family have worked in merchandise at the South Sydney Rabbitohs over the past 10 years. We've got Jimmy Hutch working in there now. We had Matt Hutch, who's now in our corporate hospitality team. Every brother, every sister, every cousin. I think mum and dad might have got a start. We've got Brandon Lowe that runs our merchandise, who claims that he's part of the Hutch family. They are just spread far and wide. They went from South to the Newcastle Knights to the A-League with the Western Sydney Wanderers. They're just spreading their Hutch tentacles out there.
And they made that great show too with his mate Starsky. Starsky and Hutch as well.
He's getting into the theme. Very good.
Hang on.
Actually, I said you
Hang on,
won't
Ella.
be
Hang on, Ella. Hang on, Ella. There we go.
I think you should come in next week. You're a lot funnier than him.
Very good. And I know Matty Hutch is an avid listener of the show. So
shout out to Matty.
Yeah, so I hope he enjoys that little mention. But it's they talk about the family club at other clubs, but really the Rabbitohs, it's even if you're not blood related, it is one big family.
The family club.
It is. You see people wearing the merch and striking up conversations who've never met each other. Even in cars with the Rabbitoh sticker, you see people just give a nod or a wink. Or
You get that feeling, like I'm in the stands every week, and you get that feeling among the fans that we're all one big happy family. It is a great feeling being there and everyone wearing their gear. I bought the 2021 jersey. I was wearing that the other night. And you see people around the world in Southski. Like I travel a lot used to travel a lot too in my tech stuff. And I remember wearing my South Sydney hoodie. I think I was in San Francisco, and then I'm walking down the street, and a bloke yelling out, "Go the Rabbitohs!" in the middle of San Francisco. Everywhere there's Rabbitoh supporters.
And the stickers on the cars everywhere.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
It's great.
Very good. Righto, we'll be back in just a moment. Now, speaking of Matty Hutch, make sure you give him a call if you're looking for any of the Rabbitohs corporate hospitality. Now, the Rabbitohs obviously back with home games for season 2021, and that means you can grab your corporate hospitality and game day experiences now from Matty, James and the corporate hospitality team. So whether you're looking to entertain clients with your business or it might be mates looking for a night out at the footy, James and Matty, they can really help you out with any of the corporate hospitality and the game day VIP experiences. And Shannon, that's your department. Can you tell us more about the VIP experiences? Because I've had a few people contact me asking me what sort of experiences you can get.
Yeah, they're really inner sanctum experiences that we only open up to those that support the club. And, our Club 1908 members and some of our corporates have been fortunate enough to do things such as, be in the dressing rooms pre-game and get a rundown on how the game works and the run sheet for the team in their preparation and see what happens behind the curtains. We've had some of our corporate guests on field during the warm-up and the kicking and catching sessions with the halves before the games. And in just about every suite and corporate lounge, we have whoever's not playing in that game, the injured players or hopefully not too many injured or suspended players going up and mingling with the corporates in our various hospitality venues across the game. So it's a great experience, and for anyone who loves the Rabbitohs and loves a good night out, I encourage them to get online and have a look.
I've got to say, the players really get involved in that too. They do a great job. When they come and see the sponsors, they realise the part they play in the club. They get involved heavily in it.
Hello, I've got to give you a wrap, and as painful as it is, I've got to give you a wrap. and Wayne, our great sponsors at Aqualand, Alex Adams, who is the CMO there, he got a really inner sanctum experience. He was in the dressing room for Wayne's debrief after the last game, and it was something that he'll take with him for the rest of his life. Alex is a great supporter of the club, as Aqualand been our home major sponsor for a number of years, but he just said what a great experience it was to hear Wayne do the debrief and being there for the song and feel the emotion. So when you're part of the Rabbitohs family, you get to enjoy some of those inner sanctum experiences.
Very good. Well, make sure you give the club a call and ask for James or Matty. They can sort you out for all of that sort of stuff, or jump online and visit corporate.rabbitohs.com.au. Now it's trivia time, the best segment that we have with the research that these boys do. Last week we talked about how many Burgesses had played at the club, and along the same theme, and with the family connections theme that we've got this week, we asked how many people with the surname Ellison have played first, second or third grade men's football for the Rabbitohs since 1908. And I'm hoping Ello gets this right because obviously it's about him, but we might start with your guess first, Shannon. 4. Steve?
I'll say 6.
6. Ello?
2.
You got it right, Ello.
Oh.
Just the 2, and it is a great family connection. Of course, Ello played 137 grade games for South, which included 86 first grade games between 1983 and 1990. And your son, Josh, played with the Rabbitohs. He played 25 games of under-20s footy with the Rabbitohs between 2015 and 2016. But I think he's better known as easily the cheekiest ball boy we have ever had. The South Sydney Rabbitohs. He was one of Shane Richardson's favourites.
Yeah. I'll tell you a good story about that. He was Josh. When I came back to coach in 2004, Josh was only about 8, I think, and he was a bit younger than what the ball boys could be. So I said that was a condition. If I'm going to come back and coach the team, I've got to bring him with me every weekend because I didn't want to miss out on spending time with him on the weekends. And anyway, this one night, he was ball boy for the first grade, and we played at the Aussie, the football stadium was called back then. It was a really wet night, and he's had all his white ball boy stuff on. And after the game, we'd won. We didn't win many back in those days, but we did win. And he went in and he dived right across in the mud to come down like that. Anyway, and then he comes running back in, and Richo saw him do it. He called him in and got Hendo to pull him over the side. And I've walked down the dresser room. Here he is, this little kid, shivering. He's
Covered in
got
mud.
mud all the way down. And he said, what's up? He said, I don't like that Richo bloke. Richo's obviously just pulled him in. And I said, I don't think he likes you much either. But hang on, he was ball boy there for a few more years after that. So,
I've got to say, Josh, he is great. Still is a great athlete. He's, excelled in league, excelled in rugby. So he's very athletic. He's a good-looking, good style of a kid. Very handsome.
So he gets it off his mother. Then,
yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's smart. He's doing really well. He's successful in real estate. He's earning good money. He's, as I said, so he's cashed up. He's successful. Good style of a bloke. He's athlete. my question, hello, is you sure he's yours?
When you said there's only 2 that have played, I thought I hope there's none that we don't know of.
I'm not saying a word, right? Ray, I didn't say anything.
Big shout out to Raylene Ellison. What an amazing woman to have been.
Certainly is. Australia's Mother Teresa, I can see.
Medal. It's a medal time.
Very good. We'll be back very shortly with my most fearful segment. Before we get into that segment, we're going to hear from our major sponsor of the Rabbitohs podcast network, What If. So if you're looking for your next epic holiday, maybe a long weekend with your mates, or you really need to get to the next game, then it's time to What If it. What If has great deals on accommodation, flights, car hire and more. Plus, because they're the official travel partner of the South Sydney Rabbitohs, you can head to whatif.com/Rabbitohs and use the promo code Rabbitohs15 to save 15% on select hotels. So conditions apply with that, but you can always go to whatif.com/Rabbitohs, use that promo code Rabbitohs15 and check out which hotels you can use that promo code for. And What If, it's Aussie for travel. And as we say every week, What If are a fantastic supporter of not only the podcast, but all areas of the club. And Steve, you mentioned before that with your tech work, you get to do a lot of travelling around the world, and COVID's put a bit of a crimp in that. But hopefully you're going to be back travelling to all these big Apple events and Samsung events around the world. And
hopefully, mate.
Let's get on to whatif.com/Rabbitohs. They might be able to do you some deals.
I hope so, yeah. I travel a fair bit. Like before COVID, I'd travel overseas like 12, 15 times a year to events. And the major events would be Consumer Electronics Show. I'd go to Barcelona for the big Mobile World Congress for mobile phones. Berlin, there's IFA, the big tech show there. the Apple events, Samsung events in New York, and Apple in San Francisco. I was a solid frequent flyer, a platinum member of the over at Qantas there. But hopefully we're back soon. I'm hoping by January, that's when the Consumer Electronics Show's on, that we'll be back overseas again.
Yeah, very good.
That's being very optimistic.
Well, Shannon's got all the connections at What If, so he'll be able to hook you up with the guys there, and we can get some deals sorted, I reckon.
We certainly will. I encourage all of our members. Your 15% discount, you can't beat it.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And not only do they look after our members with the discounts, but as you said, they're great supporters of the club, Jez. They make our pathways possible. And, our SG Ballside, Ella, I just wanted to have a quick word about them. So they're going really well. Are they still undefeated? How they travelling?
No, they lost a game a couple of weeks ago, but they play in a knockout semi-final this weekend at Leichhardt Oval, 3 p.m. on Saturday against Illawarra. They had about 4 players out last week, and they're a bit worried. They're playing the Bulldogs, who were second in the competition, and they did a job on them. So it was a great performance, and we hold high hopes for them this week.
Excellent. Well, I just want to give a special shout out to Daniel Finch and the What If crew for supporting our Pathways teams, our next generation of Rabbitohs. Without that support, that doesn't happen. They're not able to be as successful as they are. So, What If, great supporters for the club, both on and off the field with the members as well.
Yeah, and there's 3 grades at Stadium Australia on Saturday too. So if you're listening to the podcast before the round 6 game against the West Tigers, get out there nice and early. A 12:40 kickoff for the New South Wales Cup and a 3 p.m. kickoff for the under-21s, the Jersey Flegg team. So you get to see those beautiful South Sydney jerseys with What If splashed right across the front.
What a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
That's great.
I'll
be there.
Good.
I normally get there early.
At 5. It starts at 5:30. It's a great afternoon.
It will be.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it's probably just in time you finish the game, then you can head for a couple of dinners, Shannon.
Yes, and always enough time for that. Yes, thank you, Jez. I knew you'd be able to squeeze an insult to me in there somewhere.
That's not insulting.
I'm sure they'll have one before the 5:30 kickoff too.
Yeah, all right. Ruthless.
Righto, my knees start to tremble. We'll be back in a second. I'm actually that fearful of this segment. And we run a bit over time today that we might skip it. What do you reckon?
No. Please.
There'll be an outrage if you skip
I'm
it.
throwing our gold out here. You don't want to miss it.
Just get that rim shot ready. Get the rim shot ready, mate.
No, I get the tumbleweeds going.
you got the crickets, the crickets sound effect.
The bleeper ready.
We've spent 5 minutes just on this intro. If this joke needs to be cut, I'll tell you what, the whole show's ruined in editing. There's nothing.
Righto, Shannon's joke of the week.
As you know, Jez, I like to keep the jokes topical, and we've been speaking this week about the Anzac jersey. So I want to speak about, I guess, sort of the Anzac legacy, but certainly the servicemen of Australia. And this one's set during the Second World War, right towards the end of the Second World War in 1945, and it's a little island in the middle of the Pacific that was hotly contested, and there were Japanese fighting on one side and the Australians and the Americans as allies on the other side on the island, and it was very pitched battles there on this island, but they were quite remote, and they certainly had no communications, and neither side knew when the war was over, but they got a distance. The Aussie and the American side got telegrams that it was all over, and so most of the troops got sent off to a ship, but the two servicemen, one from Australia, one from America, was left on the island to try and communicate with the Japanese that the war was over and that there was peace and that there was no longer a need to try and kill each other. And so they're on the island, this American and the Aussie, and they're searching around. And unfortunately, there's corpses on both sides, and they only find one Japanese guy. There's only one Japanese survivor left. They're trying to explain to him that the war's over, and they don't speak. They finally communicate it to him. And they say, well, listen, it's going to be a good 2 months before a vessel gets back to pick us up. We're now allies. We've got to work together to survive on this island. And the American, as they like to do, he takes charge. He says, okay, we're going to have delegated responsibilities. First thing we need to do is make sure we're well-resourced. He said, I'm part Navajo, so I know how to find water, fresh water. I've done it in the desert. I'm going to find water. Get us some fresh water. He said to the Aussie bloke, you guys, you particularly with your Indigenous people, bush tucker, you guys you're going to find food. And they're speaking to the Japanese guy, and his English isn't great. And I said, "You're going to find supplies." And I said, "What type? You got to find, things, firewood, cups for us to drink out of, some stuff we can use as shelter and whatever." And the Japanese guy thinks, "Okay, yeah, understand." So they said, "We'll all go out and find what we need, the water, the food, whatever. We'll meet back here in 4 hours, and we'll set up. This will be our base camp." So the American goes out, Aussie goes out, Japanese, they all go in their own direction. They're out floating around. American gets back. About 2 minutes later, the Aussies back. Americans come back with drums full of fresh water. The Aussies come back with berries and nuts and all these kind of bush tucker. And they think, "Where's this Japanese bloke? He's not around." They're starting to get a bit worried. I think, it's a jungle. There's snakes. There's all kind of nasties out there. There could be panthers on this. Who knows? They're out looking for him. They can't find him. Looking for tracks. They can't find him. Where is he? How hard can I get a few supplies? And they think, searching everywhere. They're just about giving up. They give him up for dead. They just about to turn around and walk back to the base camp because they can't find this Japanese bloke looking for his supplies. Just about to turn around, and all of a sudden the Japanese bloke jumps from behind the tree and says, "Supplies!"
Oh, no. All correspondence to Shane at Rabbitohs.com.au. Oh, dear.
Supplies.
Supplies. Yep. Hello. We're back to you next week. It's a low bar. It's a low bar for next week. Very good. Right, I'll be back in a second. Well, thank you everyone once again for listening. You can contact us with topic suggestions by filling out the form at rabbitohs.com.au/podcast or contact us via Twitter using @SSFC Rabbitohs and the hashtag Top4Podcast. Don't forget to give us a glowing review and a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts, and hit that subscribe button or the follow button wherever you are listening. Now, we've got other podcasts on the Rabbitohs Podcast Network. There's our weekly media conferences, including Wayne's the day before every game, which is always a bit of a laugh. We've got the audio version of the Rabbitohs Insider video, which we publish each week on rabbitohs.com.au. And don't forget the Rabbitohs Radio podcast with Chaps, Mavo and Brownie. They chat a lot more hardcore footy stuff, and they have a good laugh as well. And we've mentioned them a few times with the stories of you guys playing with them and that sort of stuff. So it's definitely a good listen. Steve, I want to thank you very much for coming in this morning and regaling us with your stories and having a laugh and poking fun at Shannon. It's always a good start to our Wednesday.
It's always a nice surprise.
Yes, surprise. Yeah. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you. Yeah, it's a slow burn, that one. That's a great one.
Very good. No, we want to thank you sincerely. And
been a pleasure, mate.
Make sure all of our Rabbitohs listeners go and check out techguide.com.au and subscribe to Steve's podcast. There's the Tech Guide podcast and also Two Blokes Talking Tech with Trevor Long. I listen into them every week. And I'm also sounds a little bit creepy, but I'm a subscriber to the private.
Yeah, we have a private feed. Yeah. There's the limited number of people in our private feed that you get the new private episode if you're a subscriber, and then we release them to the public every couple of weeks, and we talk everything but tech. Yeah, that. So it's.
I get all of my TV viewing suggestions for all the streaming services from the private feed of Two Blokes Talking Tech.
We talk a lot about our viewing habits. Yeah.
We've actually thought about changing this to Three Blokes Talking Crap, but
Two blokes and hello.
I was going to say,
are you going to take that away?
I'll give you last right to reply before I press this last button.
No. It's just too easy. I was going to say, it's going to be longer this week. Maybe they'll have to listen to it when we play Canberra.
Yeah, this might be a double trip to Stadium Australia, this one, to listen to this one. Maybe on the way out and the way back this Saturday to listen to this one. But thank you again for listening. We'll be back next week with more from the Rabbitohs Top 4 podcast, powered by Audio Technica and proudly presented by What If. We will see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Rabbitohs Top 4 podcast, powered by Audio Technica and proudly presented by What If. official travel and pathways partner of the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Support the club and visit whatif.com/Rabbitohs to book your next trip. Don't forget to use the code Rabbitohs15 to get 15% off select hotels. Conditions apply. What If? It's Aussie for travel. Please leave us a 5-star rating and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Up the Rabbitohs.